Okay, we are at a crossroads right now as a country, and everybody in this room knows it. Everybody in this room knows that the trajectory that we're on right now, that the political left has taken us, is a recipe for disaster, and that's not an overstatement. We cannot borrow and spend our way into prosperity, and yet the leadership in Washington is absolutely convinced that you can do it. Absolutely convinced that if we just go a little bit deeper in debt, if we just put a little bit of a bigger load on our kids' shoulders, then tomorrow it's going to be great. The House dispersed in August, and Speaker Pelosi whistled everybody back to pass a budget. Oh, no, not to pass a budget. For the first time since 1974, the enactment of the Modern Budget Act, the House of Representatives has not passed a budget. We didn't come back. We weren't whistled back to pass a budget. Oh, no. We were whistled back to borrow another $29 billion in August, just to foist it out on failed policy that overpromises and underdelivers. And you know what's happening? These people that are showing up at Tea Party events, these people that are showing up at Republican events, they are taking their civic responsibility seriously. They're saying to themselves, I'm not going to lay back and watch these people squander my future. I'm not going to lay back and do nothing with the idea of putting this on my kids' shoulders. Are you kidding me? I'm an American. I'm up off the couch. I'm leaning into this responsibility. And I'm telling you what the news media wants to tell us, or what the political left wants to tell us, is, oh, you're peaking too early. Oh, don't worry about it. It's all going to be great. I don't think they have any idea how big this curve is. I don't think they have any idea how big this wave is. Because there's folks that are waking up every day and saying, you know what? I used to think this was all about donkeys and elephants. I used to think this was all just shirts and skins, and I really didn't care. I had one friend told me, Peter, I used to be able to care. I used to be able to afford to not to care who was in Congress. I used to be able to afford that. Now I can't afford it. And you know what? I care. My head is in this game. I'm going to get yard signs. I'm going to get bumper stickers. I'm going to knock on doors. When people are saying ridiculous things about me or that's going on in Washington, D.C., I'm not going to be silent anymore. I'm going to stand up and articulate a good, rock, solid, conservative, rural view because the economy needs to be rescued from this nonsense. August 4th of this year, August 4th, one month after our Independence Day of July 4th, August 4th, it wasn't a day of independence, it was a day of dependence. It was Debt Dependence Day because on August 4th of this year, the federal government started spending only borrowed money. 41 cents of the federal dollar right now is borrowed. How long do we think that can last? It can't last. It's nonsense, and we know it's nonsense. And I think that there are so many Americans that have woken up to this, and they've said, you know what? Yeah, we got dealt a tough deck of cards, but we're not going to lay back here and take it, because it can be great. This country can lead again. This economy can be prosperous again. We know the things that we need to do in order to get that accomplished. And I'll tell you what. I saw an interview a couple of days ago by Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, who was essentially, as I'm looking at this, she was basically taunting the public. Now that may be a little bit unfair, but I'm at a Republican rally, so what do you say? She was basically saying, we think we're going to keep the House. Nancy Pelosi was saying, we think we're going to keep the House of Representatives. And she refused to answer any question from the interviewer that was based on the premise that she would lose the gavel. Now, that is a way of thinking that has to stop, because I'll tell you what, if we don't retake the House of Representatives, if we don't send an unbelievably clear message that completely shudders through the United States of America, then the left will accept it as an imprimatur of what they've done. And they will double down and double down and double down some more. And I'm telling you what, watching what's happening in Greece right now with the Greek debt crisis, watching what happens when these governments overcommit and overcommit and overcommit, it's a house It doesn't last. And this administration is basically like the gambler in Vegas that's stuck. And they keep saying, no, put more in, put more in, put more in. It's going to come up, Red 22, one of these nights, but the sun is coming up, the smoke is clearing. It's time to get out of the gambling house and to move away and not gamble our prosperity and not gamble our future on a fool's errand. Is it any surprise, lo and behold, that the political left is now arguing in the alternative? For months and months and months, people were saying, thoughtful people were saying, if you impose this health care fiasco on the American public, it's going to raise costs. And we were lectured. We were admonished, all of us, that we're trying to raise the simple point of economics. And we were told, oh, we were basically patted on the head. And the subtext was, you simple little peasants. You just don't understand the charts and graphs. And you remember when we told this was going to bend the cost curve? And there were many Obama administration officials and members of Congress on the other side of the aisle that honestly, they may have well just propped their arm out just like this. Because it was, we're going to bend the cost curve. Well, the cost curve isn't bending this way, is it? The cost curve is exploding this way. And now 2 days ago in the Wall Street Journal, McDonald's Corporation is saying we may have to drop 30,000 potential employees from our coverage. In the same week that Obamacare passed, 2 Illinois corporations came out and they said this is going to cost us millions of dollars. Millions of dollars that's not going to go into job creation. Millions of dollars that's not going to go into research and development. Millions of dollars that's not going to help us compete in a global marketplace, but millions of dollars that is going to continue to drag us down. Caterpillar said it was going to cost $100 million in 1 year. John Deere said it was going to cost $150 million in 1 year. Henry Waxman, who chairs the Energy and Commerce Committee that has no fundamentally correct view on energy or commerce, which is a very scary thing, said, I'm going to whistle these executives in and we're going to have a hearing because I don't believe them. And you know what happened? Somebody whispered into his ear and they said, Congressman, this may be a little awkward, but those 2 companies are actually required to do that under a law that you supported. So you may not want to have that hearing. And you know what? He didn't have the hearing. And what does it tell you when Henry Waxman doesn't want to have a hearing? Now, so where do we go from here? Where do we go? There's an opportunity, I think, over these next 30 days or so, to send a shockwave across the country. And it is ultimately a patriot's call, isn't it? It is a rekindling within our spirit. Mario and Lincoln referenced that. What is motivating people is not a desire for themselves. There's not a selfishness that's motivating people. What is motivating people is ultimately a higher calling and a recognition that this generation, has been entrusted with something that is very precious. And it is foundational. And it is freedom. It is liberty. And we know that this economy that we have participated in over the years has, over the years, created more prosperity for more people than the world has ever seen. There is no system that is its rival. We're a nation where people are jumping fences and swimming across rivers and hustling here and hustling there to get here. This is a precious, unique place, but it is only as good as the generation that is holding it. And that's Ronald Reagan 101. So what do we do? I say we come out of here with incredible energy. I say we come out of here and we claim the heritage that has been entrusted to us. And we don't be defensive about sticking up for a value system that has made this country great. Instead, we hold it out and we say, no, this is a wonderful place, but it's a place where everybody needs to make a difference. Now, Lincoln and Mario are from a very interesting state. The state of Florida, as we all know, determined who was going to be the President of the United States in the year 2000. And it came down to, we all watched, we all stayed up, and it was one day after another day that went into weeks and weeks and weeks. And ultimately, it came down to about 500 and something votes that separated George W. Bush from Al Gore. And I want you to think about 500 votes. 500 votes is Mrs. McGillicuddy at the Gainesville Garden Club sending out friend-to-friend postcards to all of her friends. That is 500 votes. And elections matter. They come down sometimes to a matter of inches. Sometimes it can come down to one vote, one seat, one state that makes a difference. Are we going to be a part of that solution? We have been entrusted with this unbelievable responsibility. And if we just sit back and take it, if we take the fact that they're not passing budgets, but they're tripling the national debt, if we take the fact that we're 9 months into the tax year and the tax code is not determined for this year alone, much less knowing that there's a $3.7 trillion tax increase that is poised to be foisted on the American public on the 1st of January, and these folks banged the gavel a couple of days ago, and the last thing we voted on was Guam. We voted on Guam, and we didn't vote on the tax code. Now, God bless Guam. I'm sure it's a fantastic place, and I'd love to visit at some point. But if you're taking better care of Guam than you are 50 states of the Union, what does that tell you about a mixed priority? It tells you that this is a majority that is completely out of sync. And what we all know is that if something's out of sync at the beginning, it doesn't get better as it spirals more and more and more out of control. So can you imagine what it would be like if Nancy Pelosi is returned as Speaker of the House? Let that settle in on you. So when it comes time in the next 30 days to make a phone call, to put a sticker on a car, to put a sign in the yard for a Republican candidate, to get out when it's sideways rain and the brothers are smoking Cubans down in Miami, but it's sideways rain here in Chicagoland, are we going